Hi, it's Amanda from LHL, and I want to talk to you today about clothing because honestly, I'm a minimalist and I do keep my clothing very narrow. I don't love clothing that much, and I don't go to a wide array of events that require a very vast wardrobe. However, I have many clients that do. I've had clients that have competed in beauty pageants. I have clients that go to shows in the evening or the weekends all the time. Ones that have sororities they have to wear certain things for, or some that have uniforms. And so I want to talk to you about the people who actually love clothing. Believe it or not, people who love their clothing and people who hate their clothing both struggle almost equally in decluttering clothing. If you hate your clothing, it's difficult to decide what you want to keep. You can't see a difference between love and hate because you kind of hate it all. And if you love all your clothing, you have the same problem because you can't discern a difference between what's worth keeping and what's not. So what we want to do is stick to some basic strategies that actually work for everybody, whether you love, hate, or are neutral about your clothing. But it'll just be easier for you if you're neutral about your clothing. The thing to know about decluttering clothing is that the hardest to reach spot is very likely where the items you're willing to part with are. So I always try to start with clients in that area, but sometimes there's clothing in the way. And it often is not productive to start there because that's usually the clothing that they've been using the most. It's sometimes hanging off the side or the front of an article of clothing, off of a back wall. It could be hanging off the dresser. It might be laying on the floor, and very often those are the clothes they're wearing all the time because they can't reach any spot to hang it up. It's just been dumped on the floor. So a lot of times I'll just move that. If it's a small enough pile, we'll just move it out of the way and not address it first and go for the hardest to reach spot in the closet. And it is a pain, it really is. But that's where we can get things removed to be able to make space for the things that they actually wear. And so I want to always start with a quick win with people. And so we start there. Wardrobes are broken up into different sections, and so I try to work systematically from left to right usually, and to make sure that by the end of the session we've finished one whole category so that we know the next time we come back we got to pick up at this point. So what we're looking to do is look for the easy things to get rid of, things that haven't fit in a while, they can't be altered, maybe they need to be altered but we pull them out, they're off season perhaps. And usually from the beginning we can figure out if somebody's going to need to pull off-season things out. But essentially we're looking for the things that they cannot wear today, or they're done wearing, they won't need. And so we'll work through that left to right, usually top and then bottom, and try to finish out the section. So it might be like one wall, we do the whole top from left to right, and then go down to the bottom side left to right, and then do the wall in front of us left to right, and the bottom left to right. And the right wall left to right, and then bottom left to right. So that's usually the system that I use. And we're literally just looking for things to get rid of, things to donate, or things that need to be trashed. And that clears up the space necessary to then fit in things that we actually want to keep. Once we're done clearing out space in the closet, in the proper places for clothing, or dressers if they're in there, we do that too. Then we go through and we take the items that were out of place, like on the floor or thrown on top of hangers, hanging off of hangers, you know, all of the improper places. And then we go through that and find a home for it all. So the next step that we do after we've reduced everything that's easy is zone the closet. So if we have a bunch of dresses, usually your dress spot is very select. You only have a couple of spaces where you have the full length to work with. And so dresses are an easy place to start, where we try to fit everything into that slot. If it fits, then we're good. If it doesn't fit, now further decisions have to be made. What's worth keeping here? And is there another closet that has hanging dress space that maybe we move it there because it's off-season clothes or very rarely used? And those are decisions that you have to make. Essentially, one, is it worth hanging on to give up something else? Or two, can we let it go? Those are the decisions that people dread, but by the time we've gotten here, we've gained ourselves enough space usually that we don't have to make a ton of these decisions. And so that's why I start the way I start. The biggest thing to get across to people is that the space you have is all you have. You can't overflow, you can't put it on the floor. We can go up on shelves, we can make it difficult to reach. We can go all kinds of places with things, but ultimately you have a physical limit. And then you have to prioritize what you want to put in these physical limits. And so I try to make it very clear to clients that if they're going to run out of space, that you need to start being a little harder on your clothes, let go of more, because we're nearly out of space, right? And sometimes they will make the decision to hang on to some things, like we might do an off-season bin where we put some clothes there and we put it up high on the top shelf where they have to get a ladder to get to it. And that's okay. Some people need to go through that process in order to part with the things, and the next time they dig it down or the next time we go through it, they're like, oh yeah, I haven't even touched it since we put it up there. Now I can let it go. And that helps. It does help. So you don't have to be aggressive with your clothing. If you love clothing, this is a decent method to use, and you can go ahead and do that. It's okay, but it's not preferred because you will have to deal with it again. So if you can let it go now, let it go now. I hope you found this advice helpful and my method to be useful for you. If you're a minimalist like me, feel free to check out my blog that has more information about how I went through becoming a minimalist, where I had way too much before, but I wasn't wearing much of it at all. And now my wardrobe is very small. It fits into a 2-foot wide closet space, and it's highly functional. So you can check that out at the blog at www.lighterhappierliving.com and /blog. Yeah. So you can check that out at lighterhappierliving.com. Also at the blog, you can find out more about how to use an off-season and off-size bin to store extras, and then how to discern what should go in the bin. That's all available in a blog as well. If you'd like to know more about my own minimalist wardrobe transformation, I remodeled my closet and put an Elfa system in. Feel free to click the link below and see more about what I used and what I did there. Thank you. Bye.